session. Joining me on the call, we have Miss Lynanne Kowaleski. She's our elementary school director. We also have Deputy Gabe Uribe. He is our school resource officer with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. We have a bunch of people joining us now, so just give me a minute while I let them in. We also have one of our board members and one of our amazing parents, Miss Kelly Reyna. And also just popping in is Mr. Jeff Martinez. He is our security manager. So we have quite a few people here that can answer questions once we get to that point of today's session when it comes to Driveline and PikMyKid and all the important information. So I'm going to continue to let some folks in. And as you're just joining us again, my name is Nicole Bostel. I'm the Director of Communications. We have a couple of our building leaders. We have a parent also that's going to help with this information session. Looks like I've got the majority of folks in. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. So that way we can jump right into the presentation. All right. Okay, so why do we have a Driveline? Driveline is a requirement of our transportation management plan, and that is also a requirement for us to be able to maintain our charter contract within the Douglas County School District. We operate in a business park. Please make sure that your microphones are muted just so that everybody can hear. We operate in a business park, and so we have to be kind to our neighbors that surround us. We also have a neighborhood next door, so we need to be kind to the folks that live in that neighborhood as well. So when everybody works together, our Driveline operates smoothly and it goes pretty quickly. So what we're going to be covering today are just the procedures of our west and our east Drivelines, as well as the use of PikMyKid. Okay, so let's jump into our west Driveline. We have a morning and an afternoon Driveline on the west side, and this is for our K through 5 students, as well as those families who have K through 5 students with secondary siblings. So West Driveline applies to car riders and walkers. We do not provide any transportation for families, so there is no busing. So in order to attend STEM, you'll either have to come via a car or walk or bike. And part of that car rider is a carpool system. Okay, so every car needs to have a placard for afternoon dismissal, and every family will have the opportunity to receive a pre-printed one at the start of the school year. The newsletter provided information on placard pickup, which is this Thursday from 7:30 to 4 p.m. on the west side, which is our elementary school side. We'll have your placards ready for you to pick up. And that would be for all families. K through 5 will all pick up through the same process. If in the middle of the year, if you lose your placard, or if you need another one printed for another family member, you'll use that support at stemk12.org in order to request another placard. They must be displayed through the entire process. So even though your kiddo might get in the car, and you're still waiting in line to exit the Driveline, if you could keep that placard up on your window, that really just helps our Driveline volunteers to see who's in the car and who's supposed to be in the car and all that kind of stuff, because we have multiple checks that we do throughout each step of the process. For elementary school, we do use the PikMyKid dismissal app, and we'll be covering that later on in this presentation. I'm going to breeze through this fairly quickly so that we can get to questions. All of this information is on the parent page of our website. And it's also, you can access it through the links through the back to school page on our website. So this is our morning Driveline. Biggest things to note, the graphic here is, I'm waiting on newer graphics from our transportation management team. So as soon as I get that, but the general gist of it is the same. So everybody will come north on Barron's and we'll make a right into the elementary school parking lot. There is no left turn allowed unless you are a staff member that displays a placard. Those are the only folks that are allowed to do that. And that's so that they can get to school on time. Driveline in order for them to get around Driveline. We do allow for them to make a left into the parking lot, but parents are not allowed to make a left, so only a right. So as you pull in, you're going to loop around and through the parking lot. And then you'll notice in this front, when you're in front of the elementary school building, that is our loading and unloading zone. So you will not unload or pick up any students in this first kind of loop of the Driveline. Okay, we have attendants that will help you through this process. So please just be sure that you're paying attention, not on your phones, so that you can see what's happening. I'm not going to play this video, but I just want to include it in here. Deputy Rebe and I last year did an instructional video that walked families. We drove the Driveline process, provided some very helpful tips. We will kind of do an updated one for this year so that we're not wearing masks inside the car. But the general process, it all stays the same. When you're in the Driveline, please do not change lanes. It becomes a safety hazard when you do that, okay? When you pull in, please make sure that you pick the appropriate lane to be in. If you're in the right lane, you will exit the parking lot to the right. If you're in the left lane, you will exit to the left. The Driveline video there will walk you through that as well. And just be prepared from time to time. We do have extra Douglas County Sheriff's officers that assist us with Driveline in the morning. So you might see a police car there with his lights on, no sirens, just lights. That helps us to clear out the parking lot and exit safely, and also help students and parents cross the street safely. Okay.
Hey, STEM families.
Nope, not going to play that. So these are our pickup times in the afternoon for Driveline. So we have a 3-color placard system. We have green, orange, and yellow. And here you can see green is that first window. So if you have a student and if you only have one student in, let's say, 2nd grade and no students in any other grades, you will not enter the parking lot before 2:30. Okay. So please be aware of that. Only for kindergarten and 1st grade, if you have a green placard, will be allowed in the parking lot for pickup for that time window. And then you'll notice 2:30 to 2:40 is our orange. And that means that you have a student in K-1 with another student that's either in 2nd through 5th grade. And then our last pickup window is 2:55 to 3, and that's our yellow placard. And that's if you have an elementary school student with a high school sibling. Okay. So our afternoon Driveline, again, you will enter, head north on Barron's, make a right into the parking lot. Again, there's no left-hand turn. The other thing to be aware of is that we are not allowed to have any stacking on Barron's Boulevard. It has happened in the past, and we have not had enough staff in order to mitigate that. However, this year, our security manager, Jeff Martinez, is working on making sure that parents are not stacking on Barron's Boulevard. It creates a traffic hazard, and it also inconveniences all of our neighbors when cars stack along Barron's. So again, you'll pull into Driveline. Once you have your car stacked, you will open up that PikMyKid app and you will announce yourself. There will also be an attendant that will be coming through and will be putting cars in the appropriate order in the system. This is why that placard is so important. It speeds up the process of the attendant getting everybody in line. And once you're in the system in the appropriate order, please make sure that you guys have your microphones, okay? Once the attendant has everybody in appropriate order, the teachers see that on the other end, and then they're able to dismiss and tell the students exactly where to go in the Driveline. So those placards are really, really important. It also helps us in the event that we're looking for a student. That way we know exactly who we're looking for. Okay, again, you'll announce via the PikMyKid app. Just make sure to display your placards. I covered a lot of this. Again, you're gonna pick either the right or the left lane on how you want to exit the parking lot. Now, what's really important in the afternoon, again, is to not change lanes. Additionally, it's not to let anyone out of a parking space. Once you get put into a specific order, If you let a car in front of you that's backing out, it messes up the order in the PikMyKid system. And so we want to make sure that we're putting the appropriate kids in the correct cars. This is why we do extra double checks down the line, but it's really important that you don't let anybody in front of you or get out of order once we're starting to place folks in the appropriate order. And we can answer more questions about that later on. So PikMyKid, every parent in elementary school should be downloading the app. Below you see this link, the parent page under Get Informed, STEM Driveline, there's another page that says PikMyKid Dismissal app. That will walk you through, has very helpful tutorials and step-by-steps on how to download the app, set up your delegations, get your registration code, also on how to get support if needed. This week, all the information is being imported into PikMyKid. So if you are trying to get that app and it's asking you for a 3-digit code and it hasn't linked to your student yet, don't worry. As we go through this week and the information populates in PikMyKid, you will start to see your students showing up in your app, okay? You can make any changes to your pickup mode or to your delegation by 2 o'clock. After 2 o'clock, you can't make any changes in the system. The reason being is teachers start to prepare how kids are getting home. Walkers, we have different staff and volunteers that work with our, that get our walkers, and then we have that get our car riders out of the classroom. Okay, and families can delegate another person to pick up their student using the app. Okay. Really important, these are some don'ts for the West Driveline. So there's a neighborhood across the street. Last year we had a lot of families that parked and walked across the street. The weather was beautiful. We encourage walking. However, we had some families that would block driveways. This is not allowed. If you are blocking a driveway, you can be ticketed and towed. Deputy Uribe spent several days driving around the neighborhood and helping families correct their mistakes so that they wouldn't get a ticket. However, the neighborhood it gets very upset about that, and we get some very insistent emails about that. And so we really want to make sure that parents and visitors are not blocking driveways, garages, or anything like that. Okay. If you're crossing the street, we strongly encourage you to do that at the intersection of Barron's and Blue Point. Please, please, please try not to cross the street across Barron's. There's a lot of traffic and they're not always coming to STEM. They're not always following the speed limit. It's very unsafe to not cross where there's not a crosswalk. Okay. No stopping on Barron's Boulevard to pick up or drop off your students. Okay. Please don't be on your phone. Please don't speed. So those are our biggest don'ts. Here are some do's. Use the PikMyKid app. Follow all instructions from our SRO, our security manager, and our driveline attendants. Display your placards. Please ask questions if you need help. We are here to help you. Okay, so that we're going to jump into our East Driveline, and this is for our secondary students. So if you have our family or you just have a secondary student, this information is for you. We have our Driveline in the morning and the afternoon. They follow a very similar process. Secondary students and our secondary carpool, we have a carpool program for secondary. This applies to car riders and walkers. Again, every car needs a placard. You can sign up for a time slot at that link, which is also on our website on that Parents Get Informed STEM Driveline. If you're not taking part in the carpool program, then you can just sign up for a time slot in order to get your placard for secondary. The reason why we have to do that is because we have somewhere around 900 families on this secondary side that will come. It's more than that, but per day, it's around 900 families that come through the Driveline, and we cannot have stacking on the Ridgeline. And so you have to pick a time slot. It's a 10-minute window, and I'll cover that on the next slide. And you get the appropriate placard color. And then that way, you know when to enter into the
आवाज क्यों नहीं आ रहा बेटा?
All right. Secondary will not be using PikMyKid yet. So you do not, if you don't have a secondary student only, do not worry about downloading that app. Okay. There is a carpool express lane on the east side, as I mentioned. That is our secondary carpool program. The first thing that you need to do in order to be registered for our carpool program is register using Way to Go. This is really important. This registers us with the state of Colorado. The more families that we have taking part in our carpool program, the more kind of benefits that we get as a school. It also helps our transportation management plan. It helps us be good citizens for the Douglas County School District and Douglas County in and of itself. So as part of the state's, can't remember how they call it, Safe Routes to School program and their Denver Vision 2020, I believe is what it's called. They want families to register for this Way to Go school pool program. So once you do that, then you'll go ahead, and this is the process on how you do that. This is also listed on our website, okay? Yeah, the next step is that you'll request a carpool placard using that form that's there. It's also on our website. And what that does is that indicates to us that you are part of that carpool program and you will have a special carpool sticker. And I'll go through in these next slides here what the special benefit is that you have. Okay, so this is for the morning. As you come for our secondary driveline, you're going to access our secondary driveline by going south on Ridgeline. Okay, you can only make a right into the parking lot. You cannot make a left. So please do not come north on Ridgeline and try to make a left into the parking lot. The only people that are approved to do that is staff. Okay, you will loop into the parking lot. If you have a carpool placard, you will use that green lane. If a normal placard, you will use the 2 yellow lanes. So you will loop around, go into your appropriate lane. As soon as everybody comes to a stop, then you can unload. We do have driveline attendants that will help and assist with that. So the designated drop-off area is right here where I'm pointing right now. It's kind of that straight, those 2 straight lanes in yellow, that's your drop-off line. Please do not, when you're still in kind of the looping snake, please do not drop off any students in there, as there are cars that are coming around and they are not anticipating students to be in those lanes. Okay. Additionally, there could be visitors or staff members that are parking, and you want to make sure that you don't get into an accident. As you exit, there'll be attendants that will help you make a right going into right in front of the middle school doors right here. These 2 lanes merge into 1, and then you can only make a right back onto Ridgeline to get out of the parking lot. There's no left turn coming out of that parking lot until after a very specific time. Additionally, as we get, once elementary school driveline is complete, there might be attendants in order to help get cars out of the parking lot that will allow the left lane of the drop-off zone to make a left to loop around the school, but they will indicate where you should go and when you should do that. Okay, so it's really important to just always pay attention to the driveline attendants that are out there because they'll tell you where to go. We also have some crosswalks where a driveline attendant will be there, that they will stop you when there are students crossing the crosswalk. High school drivers, you have to have a parking pass in order to park on campus, and they can use that carpool express lane in order to access their parking spots. We ask for them to park in a very specific way. That way that helps us with afternoon dismissal. Okay, middle school crosswalk between driveline groups, a parking attendant will direct students across a crosswalk at the middle school entrance. So that is right up here. So please be on the lookout. Please do not, unless you are told by a driveline attendant, please do not start trying to exit the parking lot until you've been instructed to do so, because there could be students that are trying to cross. So here are those 2 designated timeframes for placards. We have a pink placard group that's 2:55 to 3:05, and then we have blue placard 3:05 to 3:15. The sign up for secondary placards, which is different for the carpool placards. So there's 2 signups for placards. That's on our website on the parent page. Okay. So what we're asking for our families to do is please do not enter the parking lot before your designated time. We cannot have stacking on Ridgeline. It does go very quickly once we get folks in. Where it does become an issue is when we have families inside the parking lot prior to the designated pickup time and stacking on Ridgeline, because we do have visitors and students that try to leave, and then it creates a backup in the parking lot if there's a car already parked and waiting in Driveline. Okay. So afternoon is this pretty much the same as the morning. You'll enter by going south on Ridgeline, making a right into the parking lot. Again, there's no left turn allowed. There will be our security manager, Jeff Martinez. He'll help stack cars. You'll see this blue area here. That's our Driveline overflow. What we do is once we get the 2 yellow lanes stacked up until where they where the 2 lanes start, you'll see where these first 2 arrows start. Mr. Martinez will then start stacking any overflow cars into these lanes. That helps us to alleviate some of the traffic congestion on Ridgeline. Don't worry, you won't lose your place in line. We will filter you into the normal Driveline once students come out and they start loading. Carpool, we use that green lane again, just like in the morning. Make sure that you have your carpool placard displayed, or else you won't be able to use that green lane. Okay, and then just here's some more information. Again, you'll exit the parking lot the same way once the attendant says that it's safe for you to exit. And then you can only make a right turn out of the parking lot. There should be a sign at the end of the driveway that will indicate that you can only make a right-hand turn. Okay, be on the lookout for bikers and walkers. It's really important. We do have a lot of students that walk and bike, and so they will be using the crosswalk. So be on the lookout, keep your head on a swivel just to make sure that you always see who's coming from which direction. And our high school drivers, they will be exiting using kind of that same carpool lane. So parents who are in that carpool lane, please allow our high school students. There's 2 lanes there, so we generally have our carpool stack in 1 lane to allow our students to exit from these first few 2 lanes of high school parking. So East Driveline don'ts. Parking in the business across the street is not okay. They will tow your vehicle. The first few weeks of school, they have a tow company on standby that kind of sits in the back of behind the building. And as soon as they get a phone call and see people crossing the street, they radio the tow company and they come over and they just start hitching the cars. So you are liable for that. And so just be on the lookout. Do not park and cross the street to pick up your student. And please do not encourage your students to park across the street to come to school, because their car may not be there and when they try to leave campus. Okay. Parking across the street violates our transportation management plan. So please, please, please help us to not do that. No stopping on Ridgeline to drop or pick up your student. Please don't be on your phone, and please do not speed. East Driveline dues: follow all instructions from our SRO, our security manager, our Driveline attendants, display your placards, ask questions if you need help. And that is the end of my presentation. And with that, I'm going to bring it back to the group. And for our administrators that are on the call and our volunteer, if there was anything that I missed that you would like to share, please feel free to go ahead and chime in now.
I don't have anything additional to share. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, Nicole, with our family. Super important. I know there were quite a few questions. I tried to answer 1 or 2 of them, but then I got lost in the question. So if you want to hit the chat box, that would be awesome. Do you have any questions for us?
Hi, Nicole, I do have a comment.
Yes.
About what you were saying before. Once, and this is primarily for safety, and we saw a couple of incidents happening last year, in the last school year, where a couple of vehicles did not place your vehicle in park, okay? The vehicle will remain in drive while you were in the pickup area in front of the school. And a couple of times we had close calls where the vehicle or the driver unfortunately pushed the gas, and on one opportunity hit the vehicle in front of them, and another opportunity also hit one of staff members. And that is very, very important. And once you stop where you're supposed to load or unload your student, you have to put your vehicle in park to avoid any incidents, property and primarily any incidents where somebody might get hurt.
Thank you. Okay, I'll go real quick through these questions that are in the chat box. Some of them are duplicates. If we're not able to pick up a placard on Thursday this week, can we pick up any other day? We will have them available in both the elementary and the middle school front offices. So for secondary, just have your student go to the front office the first week of school, and they can start picking up the placards there. For elementary, they'll also be available in the elementary school front offices for pickup. Okay, we'll do our best to try and put them in the teachers' mailboxes so that they can distribute them to the students. However, that first kind of day or two gets a little hectic. So they will be in the front office for both elementary and secondary. Okay. Where do we get the dismissal ID, which is mandatory to register for PikMyKid? So in order for the app to work, we have to download all the information from Infinite Campus into PikMyKid. That is happening this week. And as I mentioned in the presentation, over the next few days, that information will start to populate. It takes about 24 to 48 hours for everything to kind of sync up correctly. So as soon as we get final confirmation from PikMyKid that everything's in there, we'll notify all of our elementary school families that they can now start opening up the app and registering their students, setting up their delegations, and then how to get help if needed. We'll send an IC message out, okay? Let's see, what do we have next? We will post the recording of this video along with a PowerPoint to that Welcome Back to School page. That will be posted probably within a couple of hours of us ending this presentation. There is no carpool program set up the way it is for secondary for elementary because it's all done through the PikMyKid app. Okay, so if you are doing if you're bringing multiple elementary school families with you, the parent of the other student that you're bringing needs to set you up as a delegate. That PikMyKid page on our website will walk you through how to set up your delegates. Okay. If you have kids in secondary and a sibling in elementary, pick up and drop off will be done through the elementary school Driveline. Okay. So when you drop off your elementary school student, your secondary student, if they are part of the morning care program, then they would enter, I think they can enter as early as 7:15, but I'm going to verify that through the middle school cafeteria. Otherwise, they can walk around and wait in front of the secondary doors. The middle school cafeteria doors will open for everybody at 7:30. Okay. Yes, if you have a third grader and a seventh grader, you can drop them off at the same time through the elementary school Driveline. As I just mentioned, your secondary student will either enter through the middle school cafeteria or they can walk around to the middle school entrance. Okay.
Nicole, Janet had a question also. I think you started with, she still does need to announce her elementary school kids and PikMyKid, even if you have a middle school or a high school student, because yes. PikMyKid is going to alert the classroom teacher that that student can be dismissed from their classroom. So everyone that has an elementary school student has to use PikMyKid.
So the question is, if I have a high school student that has a parking pass, can he park and walk his sister through the middle school entrance to the elementary school doors? So unfortunately, they can't walk through the school and do that. Your high school student can walk your student around the outside of the building to drop the elementary school student off at their class stone. Secondary students are not allowed into the elementary school building. So that whole process of taking them through the building would not work. They'd have to walk them around to their class stone. So yes, they can escort them. It would just be outside the building and not inside.
I think they also could use the secondary student, if there's enough time for them to park and get into their classes, could drive through the drive line at the elementary school, allow the elementary school student to get out and join their classmates. And then the secondary student would then exit the elementary school drive line and park in the designated spot in the secondary side. But I'm
Correct.
not sure how much time that student would have to set aside to ensure that they were able to drop off by 7:20, 7:40 for the elementary, and then get to where he needs to get or she needs to get and into class on time. So
that is an option as well. Good point. Secondary drive line opens at 7:30. Okay.
7. Did you say
sorry.
element? Oh, for secondary. Yeah.
Secondary drive line opens at 7:30.
Yes.
So your secondary student for PikMyKid will not be listed in there right now. We are just importing kindergarten through 5th grade into PikMyKid. So while you might have a secondary student in the afternoon, when you're coming to pick up both your, let's say, 2nd and 6th grader, you will only see the 2nd grader in PikMyKid, okay? Your 6th grader or your secondary student will exit through the middle school cafeteria doors and then come load and get into your car, okay? Or if you're not there yet, we send all of the secondary students to the class stone of their sibling, and then they wait together at the class stones, okay? So the next question, where does my 1st grader go while waiting for secondary siblings after school? So for right now, the students will stay. We did this last year with COVID. We're keeping the same procedure. At 2:55, any elementary school students who have not been picked up will go down to their class stones and will meet their secondary siblings there. Okay.
Prior to 2:55, they stay with their classroom teachers. So we do ask, if you only have elementary school students, that you do meet those pickup times, that you don't wait until that 2:55 mark, because teachers have planning and grading and all of the fun things to do after school. But if you have a secondary student, those students stay in the classroom. So a kindergarten student might be dismissed at 2:25, but needs to wait for the secondary student. They stay in the classroom from 2:25 to 2:55 when the secondary sibling is dismissed. So they're safe and watched and indoors.
Do I need a placard for every car that will be coming for my child? Yes, you do. So we will print off 2 placards per household to start. So if you need additional placards, let us know the day that you're coming for placard pickup. We'll have a printer on site and be able to print the ones that you need. Okay.
I was going to say, Nicole, I know that you let parents know that it was an option to wait for the child to bring it home that first day. But since we will be using PikMyKid that afternoon, if you are unable to, we'd love for you to be able to come and pick up the placard before the 2nd. But if you are unable to and you need to wait for your child to bring it home, if you could please create some sort of placard of similar color and help us that first day, because it does take us a couple weeks to get new parents used to the system and new students used to watching the computer screen and getting them out. So if you're unable to come get a placard, if you could possibly find a piece of paper of any green, orange, or yellow to help us out, that would be great.
If there's a delay in pickup, what is the process? So if after, I believe 3 o'clock, if there are any elementary school students or siblings that are still waiting, we have our driveline attendants that wait with them. And I believe around 3:05, we head in and we contact the parents. So last year, I anticipate the first few weeks, we will kind of be delayed as everybody's getting used to the process. But as we get into the school year, it'll start to pick up. And we're usually done with our elementary school drive line somewhere around 3:05. So anybody who's left, we take them inside and we contact the parents to see how far out they are.
I would add to that we do have staff till 3:15. Your child is not going to be left unattended at 3:15. However, we do charge $1 per minute per child after the first time. You know, we understand that there are accidents, there are emergencies, there are things that happen with family that you're unable to get to your child on time. Please let us know as soon as possible. Call into the school so I can make sure that I keep one of the Driveline attendants, one of our aides, on the clock and supporting and watching your child. So on occasion, we understand that, but if it's a consistent late pickup, that there is a charge that would be charged to my school bucks account after 3:15.
And that goes for K through 12. So that's not just in elementary. Okay, what Ms. Kovaleski was just talking about. Okay. Is there a link for Driveline volunteers available for elementary? So there will be. You can expect either this Friday or next Friday in our parent newsletter. We will have a sign up for Driveline volunteers for both elementary and for secondary. So you can use that link to sign up. That way you can come in and get trained. Secondary Driveline does not use iPads. Our elementary Driveline, we use iPads because of the PikMyKid app. So if we have extra iPads that we need for you to run, we'll train you on that. If your role does not require the iPad, you might just be one of the runners that helps us load the students in the car. With that, I would like to see if Miss Kelly Reyna had anything to add. She is one of our parent volunteers that has helped out with Driveline for a number of years.
Yeah, so one thing I would add to the volunteer list, so it's great to come in and get trained, but as the year goes on, any volunteer is welcome. So if you just on a whim have extra time in your day and you show up to pick up a kid early, come on in and help us do Driveline, because like Nicole said, we can use all of the help getting the littles into the cars. The iPads and how we get the students from the classroom to the appropriate area in the Driveline is one step, but then just getting them safely into the car is the next step. And we can always use extra hands for that. So just don't worry. Like I said, signing up is one thing, but if you can do it, you don't have to sign up to volunteer.
But they do need to come in. When you do volunteer, please come in, have your ID ready, because we do run IDs through Raptor. And then you'll have a vest, a really pretty security vest that we ask you to wear. So you do need to check in with the front office prior to volunteering that particular day.
And then just some other tips that I learned as I did volunteer a lot last year with Driveline is when you come in and you switch from drive to walker and you're not able to do it by that 2 p.m. mark, it's okay. Just make sure you grab one of the volunteer attendants or one of the IAs immediately, because the longer you wait, the longer it takes for you to get your kid. So if you could just alert one of us right away, then we can change your pickup designation and get your kiddo out to you real quickly. And then just a couple other don'ts that I observed, and it was parking, and maybe Officer Rube can help me with this one, but parking within the designated space of a stop sign. We saw a lot of parents parking all the way up to the stop sign and sometimes around the corner. That causes a real danger to the kiddos that are walking across the street. So maybe we can get some clarity around what the rules of the road are there. And then just U-turns in the school zone. I saw a lot of U-turns in the school zone, so maybe we can talk around that too.
Yeah, so when I try to be very, keep an eye on that specific corner right in front of Burns where the vehicles actually exit in the elementary side, right or left. A lot of vehicles, a lot of parents actually tend to park right in that corner, and that's not allowed. I always talk to parents and I say, I'm sorry, you cannot park here. I have parents telling me, oh, my child is coming, or it's just going to take a couple seconds. But just as it will take a couple seconds for a student to come to the car, and just as it will take a couple minutes for a parent to pick up the kid in the front of the school, that's the same amount of time that can actually go through for an accident to happen, sometimes even less. So This is not because I like to be picky or something like that. It's just because I have the safety and security of our students first, and you parents as well. I want you guys to be able to go across the street in a safe manner as well. So when vehicles just turning left or right in that intersection, it's hard for them to see. I do usually, I'm not, and I'll be honest with you, I'm going to be as clear as I can. I'm not the kind of person that will just go to you and give you a ticket right away about like a traffic infraction like this. No, I like to, we're part of the same family. I want to talk to you. I want to, if you have questions about it, I want to make sure that you understand the main reason why we're doing this. But there's going to be a point where tickets need to be issued for an infraction to stop happening. When it comes to the safety and security, we don't take chances. For students and our parents, do not park near the stop sign. Do not park blocking a driveway. In the complex or the neighborhood that is across the street, as you can tell, they have streets that go left and right from the county street, county maintained street. You guys cannot park in there because that's private property. Although I cannot enforce anything in there, I cannot. But actually, anybody that has any authority or property owners of that area, they can request for your vehicle to be towed. That's something that they have to request, but you guys need to help us maintain that good relationship too that we have with them across the street. When it comes to the U-turn, I will have to look into that. As far as I know, I need to check, but if there's no a specific, like in intersections, if there's no U-turn, particularly in one street sign, I don't know that there's necessarily a violation of a traffic law. I will have to look when it comes to school zoning. If there's a double yellow, which we do have in Barron's all the way down, you cannot do a U-turn whatever you want. It cannot happen if that's what you were talking about, Kelly. But in general, we're going to keep an eye and we're going to be looking into traffic violations in the street, in the outside, very closely. And hopefully I don't have to have too many conversations with anybody, but please help us out. It's for your safety, our safety, safety of our students, and we just really appreciate that.
One thing that I would like to point out, because I forgot to include it in my slides, I'm going to share my screen real quick, and it's going to be a Google map that you'll see. This right here is down toward the bottom. You have West Highlands Ranch Parkway, and you have Ridgeline that comes north here.
We're
So-
not seeing it.
You're not sharing.
I'm not. Oh, nuts. Sorry. Thank you.
There you go.
It's a good thing I didn't get too far in. Can you see my screen now? Yes. Okay, good. So we have a lot of incidences with this every year. It's not just our parents, it's the employees of the surrounding businesses. When you are heading north here on Ridgeline, I'm going to take this little Google guy and I'm going to put him right, if it lets me, put him right over here. That way you can see this intersection that I'm talking about. And we're going to go, sorry, pardon me, we're going to go north. So there is right here on this side, there's a straight lane, and it's not very good right now, but there's a straight lane, there's a bike lane, and then there's a turn lane right before you get to this intersection here, which is Monument Boulevard. If you are in this straight lane, it is also the lane where people can make a left onto Monument. So you cannot circumvent the cars that are waiting to make a left-hand turn. It's not a lane for you to drive in. The bike lane is not a lane for you to drive in. The turn lane's not a straight lane for you to drive in. You have to wait for that car to make a left, and then you can go straight. We had a bike accident that happened, I believe, a year and a half ago. That was pretty bad. Not only that, but Deputy Uribe will ticket you for this one. Okay, and it's a big ticket. Okay, so it's a little bit hard to see here, but essentially it's this street right here when you're coming on Ridgeline off of Highlands Ranch Parkway. It is a straight and a left turn lane going on to Monument. So any of our families that are trying to get to our elementary school Driveline, and they make a left, if you're trying to circumvent that and trying to go straight on Ridgeline, please don't go around that traffic. Okay, I will stop sharing.
I wanted to add really quickly about parents that I think you mentioned about where parents could park if they were walking across. Did you cover that, Nicole?
For elementary, they can park in the neighborhood. They can, as long as they are following the appropriate parking on the street, not blocking a driveway, not parking in the alleys, blocking a garage. So as long as they're in an approved designated space to park. Now it's limited over there. So it's not something that we encourage.
So with that, a couple of things, a designated place for them to cross, because it does become pretty hectic there with cars coming and going. So appropriate place to cross, and then also how to cross across our drive line. Even sometimes we have parents that are trying to scoot in between the cars in our drive line right up front.
Yes.
So if we could cover that. And then also I wanted to circle back about on occasion, we have secondary students that do have permission to walk off campus to meet parents either in that neighborhood, which we do not encourage, but we have students that will meet parents at the Starbucks or up at the little shopping area up there. Elementary school students can walk off campus with the secondary students. However, the parents must fill out a permission slip. We must have something on file that is permitting us to release to the secondary student and also permitting them to walk off campus. So we are releasing responsibility to that secondary student and to the parent at that point. Once they leave campus, we're there to support, but it's by choice. But we must have that proper documentation prior to that occurring.
Yeah.
But
so just to cover the crosswalk piece, and I think I mentioned it, it's Blue Point and Barron's. That is where the designated crosswalk is. I know that is inconvenient because when you park in the neighborhood, you want to cross right where that street is because there's the entrance to our driveway. However, the cars are coming out and making a left and a right. Additionally, we have people that are not at all associated with STEM that are probably tourists because there's a hotel right there. They're not familiar with the area and they will speed right past and they will not be paying attention when you're crossing the street. So we really strongly encourage, it's not that far, just walk down to the end of Barron's, cross at that crosswalk, come back down and just just stay on the sidewalk and that'll take you right to the elementary school doors. So get your steps in. It's better to be safe than sorry. So that's the crosswalk piece. That form that Ms. Kowaleski was talking about, that is on the PikMyKid page at the bottom. Okay. Now you do have to have your student designated as a walker in PikMyKid. So that pickup mode needs to be designated as a walker. And then that's why that form is located on that page. So let me go back to the chat box real quick. We had, what is the protocol if grandparents need to pick up? So you need to make sure that grandparent is designated in PikMyKid as a delegate, and grandparent needs to have PikMyKid on their phone. Okay. Everything is tied to the person's cell phone number. So the person that's picking them up needs to have a cell phone number, and that cell phone number needs to be the person that's delegated to pick up that student. Once we have a geofence around the school, once the person crosses that geofence and it's in the appropriate pickup time, that dismissal button, which is grayed out, will turn green, and that will, I'm sorry, not dismissal, the announce button will turn green, and that indicates that you are within the appropriate window and that you've also been approved and delegated to pick up that student. Okay.
Nicole, I was thinking about sharing the why. I think some parents, especially our new parents, are thinking, oh my gosh, this seems like a process. I've got to get the app. I've got to download it. I've got to talk to my family members. I got to get my mother-in-law on PikMyKid and she doesn't use technology. But I did want to share the reason why we do have PikMyKid. So a couple reasons. A big one is safety. So your students are in the classroom safely with their teachers until you are in the driveway, like right in front of the school. we're only releasing your child to that designated person. So if they do not have a designation, they're not getting in the car with any other individual. So that helps. Prior to having PikMyKid, students would be dismissed at their regular dismissal time. So at 2:25 and 2:35 and 2:55, and they would stand there. We would have kindergartners and first graders standing there from 2:25 until maybe their secondary SIB got out at 2:55. They were out front. So elementary has about 575 students, and we'd have to manage all of those students in that front area right in front of the school for about 30 minutes. And we were yelling to different teachers to help us find the kids and get them in the car. So this does speed up the process. So while we understand it is a learning curve and it's not easy and it's not going to be seamless the first week or two, and it's going to take all of us some patience and effort and grace. In the long run, it is what's best for kids to keep them safe all around. So safely getting into cars, safely going with the right person, out of the weather, the inclement weather. So it is a great program. It just is going to take us just a bit to get proficient in it. So I promise you there is a reason behind it.
So to go through there's a couple more questions in the chat box. Are there designated parking spots in the school parking lot for volunteers? Yes. So if you look at the contact us page on our website, there should be a map that indicates where you can and can't park. So what's staff parking, what's visitor parking. So volunteers can park in those visitor spots. One thing that we do want to mention, if you are coming to pick up your kiddo, I believe you cannot, Ms. Kowaleski, correct me if I'm wrong, it's after 1:30 is where we cut off pickup times for students. And part of that is because we have secondary students that utilize the parking lot for brain breaks and for sort of like a recess time. And we also do not want visitors, while we're trying to navigate Driveline, coming in and out and parking, and then they get stuck and then it takes them forever to get out. So if you are coming to pick up your student for a doctor's appointment, or you're going out of town, it's before 1:30. After 1:30, it gets very tricky to pick up students and navigate through our parking lot. Okay, so please keep that in mind. So has Way to Go been discussed for a carpool situation? Yes. Way to Go is for secondary carpool program. So please take a look at that on that Driveline page on our website. That's for secondary only students. Okay, want to make sure that you register through Way to Go and then get your carpool placard. So if your student is doing after school services, so let's say if your student's in base, they have their own pickup process. And then if your student's doing the after school program for secondary, there's also that pickup is done through the middle school cafeteria. And so there's a pickup process there, which is separate from the Driveline procedure. PikMyKid app is used for finding any carpooler for kids. No. Way to Go is your way to find carpools throughout the STEM community. So Way to Go is the program that you want to register. And there's instructions on how to do that in the presentation when I share it, as well as on our website on the Driveline page. Okay. Carpool for elementary, you can also find that on Way to Go. However, you don't need to register for a carpool placard. Okay, so Way to Go you can also do for elementary. The only thing that you need to do though is make sure in PikMyKid that you set up the delegate, whoever the person is that you're carpooling with. It's once you get it going, it's very intuitive on what days you can pick and who you want. So you could set it up for the entire year to have grandma pick up on a Tuesday as a walker. And put it in there. So, and then if you need help because you made a mistake, just reach out to us and we can get that fixed up for you. So, it looks like Ms. Kowaleski and Deputy Uribe had to step out. Mr. Martinez, our security manager, hasn't said anything yet, so I want to give him the opportunity to introduce himself, but then also add anything that we missed.
Thank you, Nicole. So first of all, great job I don't think you missed anything between the comments by Gabe and everybody else. It was perfect. I wanted to just say thank you to the volunteers. Can't do it without you. Please volunteer. It's exceptional. It helps us do our job. Sometimes we have EAs that are out sick, et cetera. So it's a little hard on the staff here. And then I want to say a big thank you for your patience. I realize I'm a parent myself. One of my sons just graduated this year in May. I realize sometimes it feels a little chaotic, but we're doing everything to be fair and safe first. So thank you so much. That's really all I wanted to say. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. So the way to go, it's set up through Infinite Campus. There's a kind of a step-by-step on our Driveline page that walks you through how to get into Way to Go. It's done through Infinite Campus or your parent portal. When you log in there, you'll click on that transportation tab. And then there's a unique link that's associated just with STEM, and that will help you connect with other STEM families, okay? That's a way to kind of protect your privacy and to also ensure safety and security. So with that, I think I've gotten through all the questions in the chat box. We have about 5 more minutes left. So if anybody wants to unmute and ask any question that I haven't covered yet, please feel free to do so.
Well, I'd say well done, Nicole. No questions.
All right. Everybody go home. No. Please consider coming back. We'll have the similar info sessions throughout the rest of this week from noon to 1. We will record and post everything to that back to school page. I believe tomorrow's session is getting informed. Then we also have getting involved and then getting connected. And then we also have the STEM experience on Friday, which talks about our enrichment and athletics and any other type of extra programs. We're trying to get some information together about P-Tech and career discovery, and but there's a lot of information. So we'll see how much I can fit into a presentation. If there are no other questions, I appreciate all of you for attending. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.